Lyric in it. I've got the 13 channels of, right, you know that one? I've got 13 channels of S-word on the TV I can choose from. Maybe you're familiar with that one. That, obviously, from the album The Wall, 1979 by Pink Floyd, was a reference to the many content options back in those days. 13 channels was considered a lot, right? 13 channels of content on a television, especially if you're from England, where they had far less than 13 channels. Basically, they had the BBC, right? There were like one or two channels on TV. That was pretty much what they had in the 70s in England, and many countries, by the way. You know, a lot of countries didn't even have really any television until the 60s, the late 60s or so. But England, in particular, as advanced a nation as it is and as it was even back then, obviously, even they only had a couple channels. In America, it was common to have a bunch of channels, 13 channels or so. Very often that 13th channel would be something that also ran on UHF channels. Oh, UHF, what is that? Ultra high frequency. You might remember the Weird Al Yankovic UHF. Anyway, why do I mention that? Well, because in the 70s, 13 channels of content was considered a lot. In the 80s, as cable was introduced, cable television channels exploded onto the scene, and soon there were 57 channels, and in some cases more, in some cases less, but there were a whole lot of channels, more than the 13, right? And as Bruce Springsteen saying, 57 channels and nothing on. And as the years went by, and there were more and more cable offerings, and then there were some interactive TV offerings, and then of course the internet and internet TV, hybrid internet, cable, etc., brought on an ocean or a veritable universe of content to the internet and TV worlds, and gave consumers practically limitless content. And then with the introduction of YouTube and other video services like Vimeo and streaming services like Hulu and Netflix, etc., eventually Amazon Video, Peacock, and all these other streaming services, you've got basically the entire landscape having not just switched from analog to digital signals, but you've got an entire universe of content where the whole game theory has completely changed. The entire business model has completely changed. And everything about being a content provider is completely different than it was just a few decades ago. And why do I mention that? Well, in the world of marketing, this has obviously impacted projects, companies, channels, networks, etc., that were being marketed and that are being marketed, and also the methods in which those content offerings are marketed. And what does that mean for marketers? what are we looking at in the future? Are we looking at millions of channels on every cable set-top box? No. Except, of course, those that include internet, in which case, sure, you could technically say every website has its own separate content offerings, but not every website is necessarily really a content producer, even though they may produce quote-unquote content to create their web pages. A lot of it may just be informational, brochure type websites. The amount that's actually consumer focused content for entertainment or other purposes is obviously far less than the entire internet space, clearly, right? But you have all the social media platforms and everything else where there is a massive, seemingly endless universe of expansive content growing every moment of every day. And what does that have to do with internet marketing or digital marketing or marketing in general, even traditional marketing? And the answer is quite a lot, actually. There's a lot of impact on the marketing space when you have so much content. And we have been living through recently a relative golden era or golden age of things like streaming content, etc., where just anybody who could get a Netflix deal, or an Amazon Prime Video or whatever deal was getting paid hand over fist just to make some content to feed their networks. However, those days are rapidly ending and transforming into an age where more traditional business drivers and KPIs and other things that are important to companies, corporations, and C-suite executives matter. And you're going to see more of an interest in returns on investment. So you may see some productions that have either smaller budgets or have bigger budgets, but there will be more of a focus on the marketing, even if that means the marketing budgets will be more focused on lean and agile marketing with fast fail methodology in order to extract the maximum possible profits from these ventures. Anyway, some food for thought for you. I'll be happy to talk about more. And that does it for now. Happy marketing.